Hello. Welcome back.
Well, guys, welcome back to the GBM podcast.
Hello.
Hopefully, this isn't your first time tuning in, but welcome to episode 8. Today, we're here with...
I am Jake from Nothing Who Cares.
And I am Johnny from Nothing Who Cares.
And we're very glad to have them today. So, guys, real quick, just starting out, tell us a little bit about yourselves. Tell us a little bit about the band.
Okay. My name's Jake. I play rhythm guitar and do vocals for Nothing Who Cares. It's our newest project that we've been working on for about a year now. And it's kind of like its own thing, truly. It's like a kind of a down-tuned grunge core mix-up of things. And it's just basically all of our favorite bands that we grew up listening to that, kind of put in a blender and made it our own. Been playing music, I guess, since I was like 17 or 18 consistently. I've always really been a big music guy. I've been obsessed with it since probably 12, 13 years old. And I still haven't figured out what the hell I'm doing. So, that's kind of my background with things. Been in a couple of different bands, but this has definitely been my prized possession as far as creative output goes.
My name is Johnny Rodriguez. I'm the lead guitarist for Nothing Who Cares. Been playing music for a few years since I was consistently since 12. I've been in a few bands. 90% of my family are musicians, so my grandpa wouldn't even make eye contact with me unless I played an instrument. So it's been a pretty big part of my life, and it's what I aspire to do for the rest of my life. And that's it's about me in a nutshell.
All right.
And so where did you guys get the name Nothing Who Cares?
I was going back and forth with a few band name ideas with a buddy, and we had a miscommunication in our text message, and he asked me, he was like, so your band's called Nothing Who Cares? And I was like, yeah, it is now. But yeah, it also, I wanted to make sure that the name kind of took a jab at things that are very superficial. People think because you have like a cool or catchy or edgy band name that, it means anything, and it has almost zero to do with the content 99.9% of the time. Also, my favorite band is, of all times, probably Nirvana, and so I thought it'd be cool to be able to find our records next to theirs if we
smart.
make it that far, But yeah, like it's getting really hard these days to come up with an original band name. That's why you see so many people kind of add their location to their handles and things like that, where it'll say, so-and-so HTX or ATX.
You see that a lot.
Because they know there's another band in another state that sounds, or that has that exact same name, and they probably even sound alike.
There is kind of an advantage, though, to kind of like building like a home kind of audience and stuff, and like getting that kinetic energy going, like exactly where you're at. Yeah. But yeah, no, you do see that a lot. As far as like the superficiality of names and stuff like that, do you guys feel like there's a temptation when starting a band to do something gimmicky to get attention?
That all depends on what the motivation is behind like founding the thing to begin with. You know what I mean? Like what your intent is. I think if you're purposely going for something gimmicky, that you have an expectation and an idea of how you want to be perceived, and I'm not bashing it in any form or fashion. Like there's plenty of gimmick things in this world that are amazing and incredible and I love. I mean, like I'm a fucking pro wrestling fan back in the day, you know what I mean? So gimmicks my game. Like I love it, but with our project specifically, I wanted to take a different approach to things, where it was, like it really doesn't matter like what the name of it is. Or
let the art speak for itself, kind of.
Just listen.
Yeah.
And it's. I think there's a lack of authenticity out there with a lot of things, but I do think a lot of people feel pressure to try to jump on a hype or a wave of some kind, or chase clout, and again, it all stems from whose intent it is, like as soon as you're founding a project of sorts,
Nah, yeah, and it's very tempting too, because like when you're like starting a project, you want like immediate kind of like
recognition, gratification.
right? So you kind of want to. I mean, part of you wants to go for that little like the cheap trick or the kind of gimmicky name or gimmicky style or whatever.
Right.
But I think like
things that last a long time are going to be things that, like you said,
Right.
have more content than flashiness.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, like, don't listen to me. I mean, like, you know, like look at Kiss.
No,
Yeah.
certainly.
No,
Like,
yeah, definitely.
I'm a fan of Slipknot, so you know, I mean, it's one of those things where a gimmick works, man, as long as you're actually committed to it and you're gonna stick with it.
Well,
you know
I-
that's what your game plan
I think
is.
that in that it's like maybe someone would say like, okay, Kiss's success derives like entirely from their outfit, where it's like you still gotta have good music, you still gotta have
You gotta keep them engaged. You gotta keep the audience entertained. Yeah.
It's okay to like kind of rope somebody in with a gimmick, but you got to keep them there with the actual act and the actual.
Yeah, no doubt about it, dude. And I mean, it works. It definitely works. I mean, you look at bands like Slipknot and how like Alice Cooper has built a brand around everything they've ever done, and
Right.
you know, I think that's been going on since the beginning of people forming actual bands, particularly in you know, a rock and roll setting or anything like that. I think it really popped off in the 70s and 80s, you know, and it's just climbed and climbed and climbed. And even bands that don't seem like they're gimmicky are very gimmicky.
Oh yeah.
I mean, look at Nirvana, you know, like, oh, I don't want to be famous. I don't want to be a star. Like, we all know that's bullshit.
No.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm glad that you said it.
That's the brand. you
Because
know?
that's always the feeling I've got from Kurt Cobain. I feel like he has a very, very finely cultivated image. I don't buy the whole, I don't want to be famous, this and that. I genuinely think Kurt Cobain really did have a desire to be like exactly what he ended up.
Oh, no doubt about it.
becoming.
I say that all the time. And as a big Nirvana fan and someone greatly influenced by not only the band but him himself, I am constantly telling people are shocked when I start getting on that subject. You know, like I disagree with what a lot of people that would call themselves super fans would think or say about that. You know, but you know, I dove into it enough to where I saw enough. You know, and the dude had literal notebooks of him asking himself media questions and then writing multiple answers to it to see which one fit the best and was coolest and would fit his I don't give a shit brand.
Yes, exactly.
You know, so
and if he would have made it so apparent that he did kind of need that recognition, it wouldn't have been the Kurt Cobain that we know and love. And so
they would have been just another band, dude.
Yep.
I mean, he wouldn't have compromised like he did on Nevermind to make a super polished pop album. Because make no mistake about it, it's a pop album. It's just got enough punk rock influence in it to where it's its own thing. And, you know, you've got a lot of other bands that were, you know, dare I say, far more talented and more raw and visceral at the time that fit more of the idea of the underground movement popping through that mainstream. But, you know, Nirvana saw it a mile away, and if Kurt's anything, he was a genius on how to build his brand and represent himself in that fashion because that's what was working, you know.
Did you ever hear that apparently Courtney Love had said that Kurt felt a lot of insecurity about Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins?
Well, because she was fucking him.
That's the thing.
I mean, the dude wasn't even cold yet, and she was already like openly in a relationship with the guy or some shit like that, you know? I mean, and I'm not a big Corgan fan, dude. Like, I think he's a bit of a.
Oh, we good to go?
You're watching the GBM podcast, the most professional podcast you've ever watched in your life.
Technically sound.
The most technically sound, put together podcast you've ever seen in your life. Okay, so let's hope that audio file's not corrupted. Once again, we're the GBM podcast. We're here with...
I'm Jake from Nothing Who Cares.
And I'm Johnny from Nothing Who Cares.
And that's going to be really funny if everything is there and we just do that in the middle of the podcast. But who cares? We're going to run with it. Anyways.
Before the show, you guys were talking about how y'all kind of how y'all got started playing together.
Oh, yeah.
Y'all want to just give like the audience a short kind of summary of that and like y'all's history together?
You do this one.
Yeah.
So we formed a band. We were in a grungecore band. Metalcore band. Or what style would you say?
Dude, don't. Don't do that.
Anyways, I guess
it was like a straight up hardcore band.
Yeah, there you go. And we were called Vendetta Diary. And funny y'all mentioned gimmicks earlier. We were zombie themed. Every one of our songs was zombie themed.
And what was hot? What was getting real hot around that time?
Yeah.
It just started. Walking Dead had just
Nice.
dropped. Bro.
Yeah, the
Like,
zombie craze, man.
and we were doing it like a good 6 months before that, right? We were doing that. We were already on some like mega zombie shit, and then as soon as that show dropped and we saw like how hype it was getting, we were like, "Oh, dude, we're on it."
Oh yeah, you
And
gotta
then,
hop on that train.
Right around that time too, Suicide Silence had just really burst into like a bigger market, and that was like the first like real example. Them and like maybe Job for a Cowboy at the time were like the first real examples of like what like deathcore was going to sound like and what it was going to be. And at the time, we were kind of like some cookie cutter ass band that like. I guess if I had to pick, like we were, like if Devil Wears Prada was from Texas, you know, like, and I made sure to throw tons of like Texas slang and like little like quirks into the lyrics and song titles. Like we had a song called like "Pardon Me, Miss," you know, shit like that. You know, we're just really leaning in on our roots, and you know, I wasn't a responsible person at that time and was rarely seen in a sober state. And right around this time as well, a lot of my friends were really getting into like the EDM scene and going to like underground dubstep raves and shit like that. And I got drug out to a few of them, and they're all around me, like DJing and learning and all these things. And you know, they were like, "Oh, you should give it a shot. You like music?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't really fuck with the EDM thing." But here, show me like how to like run these turntables real quick. And so I started chopping and screwing shit like George Strait and Nirvana and like Eddie Money, you know. And then I was like, man, I wonder what my band sounds like that. And I heard one of our breakdowns, Chopped and Screwed, and I literally that night was like, I'm staying up all fucking night, and I'm gonna fucking sit here on this computer, and I'm gonna program a bunch of dope ass drum beats that are like metal influence, and then I'm gonna fucking put it behind a chopped and screwed version of our shit, and I'm gonna show this to the band. And I took our whole demo back that next practice and was like, "Y'all ready for this shit?" Bam, hit it. And then we were like, "Okay, we're gonna use spaghetti strings instead of fucking guitar strings now, and we're gonna like every time we write a riff, we're gonna cut it in half, and then." We're going to cut it in half from there." And then, yeah, it was just us and like one other local band that really had that extreme slow and low, like loud, heavy, aggressive sound. Yeah, and it all just kind of worked at that time, you know, like we were all talking about zombies in every single one of our songs. You know, and Walking Dead did drop super fire, like right out the jump. And it was already successful before the show, but the show really made it, you know, to like millions and millions of people, right?
Yeah.
And then right around this time, you know, you had bands like Suicide Silence and Job for a Cowboy doing their thing too, and so just everything lined up, and it was just like, all right, this is what we're supposed to do. Like, you know, you wouldn't have this many ideas, and the universe wouldn't be throwing so much shit right at you if you weren't on the right track already, you know. And that's just kind of how it felt. So we rolled with that, and we were fucking dope.
And then, so you guys have been pretty much doing y'all's project for, you said, about the past year now with Nothing
The
Who
new
Cares?
one, yeah.
So I have a question. So you guys played Houston Vert Ramp, right?
Yeah.
In March.
Well,
Or it was.
So that yes, to answer your question, yes. I'm really good friends with the guy that owns that property. That property's not open to the public. For y'all that don't know, there is a 13 by 60 foot X Games vert ramp in the hood of Houston, in the middle of nowhere, right in the heart of like the trap. And it's got an airplane hangar built over the top of it, and it's in my friend's backyard. And that's where people like Tony Hawk, Bucky Lasik, Christian Asoy, you know, the Olympic team kids that roll through Texas and things, this is where they go practice and skate at when they're in Houston, because if they show up to a public spot, and with social media being what it is, you're going to have 5,000 to 10,000 kids just roll up on a property that is not ready for that. And so they don't tell you where they are until it's done. Don't know if you know that about social media. I'm sure most of you are smart enough to figure it out. But when you see someone, like especially a celebrity, posting somewhere that is public, they're not there at that time. Like, that was probably 2 or 3 days ago, you know, depending on who it is and what's going on. that being said, it's not open to the public. I've done a lot of cool things with this dude that does own the property. He's a really good friend of mine. And kind of our little side agreement is that I will never pull $1 off of anything that comes through his venue, even if I'm working the entire time and put a lot of energy into it. In exchange, I'm the only person who gets to throw shows that's not his. So March, that's what I did. I threw a little mini fest, got a couple of local bands to do it with me and stuff, a couple of the homies, and all was well. And then for the last 4 years, there's an event that happens there for an entire weekend in November called Banger in the Hangar. Now that one is like 5 times the size of the thing I did in March, if not more, maybe 10 times. And this is where like pro skaters from all over the world, legends, everybody just jumps in and starts having a fucking awesome time. It's invite only. We go full out event style with it. So, there's guards, there's people at the door, there's vendors, there's sponsors, and all this kind of shit, man. And shout out to all the sponsors that work that and make that event happen. You know who you are. And this last November, literally a month ago, we got to get the Dead Kennedys out there, like the Dead Kennedys. And part of my payment for helping with the event and organize it, it was we get like a bitchin' ass time slot. So we got to play with those dudes. And
so how was that? Tell us a little bit about what it was like playing with the Dead Kennedys.
I wish I could tell you. Me, this dude, and other members of the project, we talk about this probably once a week where we're like, what happened? Like, what? What? Yeah, and I mean, people that play shows and that are very into what they do, they understand what I mean by it's a dream. Like, like, there's 2 types of shows. There's good and there's bad. And when you're playing a bad show, you fucking remember every little detail of every little song and every little person's face that you saw during that, right? And not because there's little people, but just they're not right in front of you and you're usually higher up, right? So, but you remember every little bit of that. You play a good show, you remember the first and the last song, and then you'll remember little like movie clip snippets of memory. And more time passes, if it was a really good show, the more you start to remember. It's like getting almost like blackout drunk. You know what I mean? Where it's just like a month later, you're like, oh fuck, I did that. You know what I mean? Like now I remember that. Do
you think that bad shows are easier to remember because for whatever reason your brain is going, okay, like this mistake or this thing that didn't go right, like for whatever reason we need to crystallize this. We need to be able to reference this. Mm-hmm. Like the good feeling is like it's great. It feels great, but it's not. Like it's not almost like it's not necessary for your continued survival or like flourishing.
I bet if you asked a smarter person that, they'd be able to articulate that a little better. For me, I think yes, like it's because if you care about what you're doing and you give a shit, you want to be as best as you can, and you work really hard toward it, then you're fucking shitting your pants. Like you're freaking out the entire time, right? So you're just prone to, you have a lot more awareness and self-awareness and critique on what's happening around you, as well as like the people around you. I think more though when you're doing a good show, and now that I'm thinking about it, I think the good shows, the reason why I don't remember them as much is just because I'm not so worried about those things. Because I didn't fuck something up that broke my focus on what I was there to do, and that is to have a good time, play loud, aggressive, sloppy music, and hopefully people fuck with it and support what you're gonna do.
So that's like a good segue into like I always want to ask musicians or just like performers in general, like what is this is kind of for both of y'all, but what is like a memory of like every time you look back at it you cringe, just your worst memory on set? Maybe your worst, your biggest mistake, or just you got really unlucky. Somebody throw a shoe at you or some shit.
Start with your worst. What's the
worst?
What's ever happened to you on stage? Is it your shit not working or something?
I was gonna say also a big part of the podcast is we always just want to talk to people that are 2 steps behind us in whatever field we're kind of discussing. So like, if you have any advice to people who haven't been doing music for any amount of time. Just things like, hey, this is something I had to learn the hard way, like on a show.
Yep.
Like I was just
I got
anything like that.
You first, man. You got to say something. I'm sorry. I know you hate this. Yeah, just come support me, man. He was like, you got to take the lead, though, bro. What's wrong? Here you are.
I would probably say my worst show was. Well, here's the thing. It was our best show, one of our best show, but also worst. Whenever we opened for Emir and
That was
Bremen and
wasn't it?
it was a badass show, but our rhythm guitarist dropped from our band the night before, and so I had to
dang.
rewrite all of our 2 guitar parts into one, and learn everything. And it was just I was so focused on that I just didn't enjoy the experience. And like to me, it was just it was horrible. But to everyone else, they were like, "Man, that was an amazing performance." And
I had a great fucking time.
I'm a perfectionist, so I get deep in my head, and I'll wake up in the middle of the night in sweats. Like I can't believe that happened. That's just how I am.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yo, at that show, I was probably 19 and was the front man of a dope-ass local band playing in a huge tour that we had no business being on, man. Just the...
Year after the burial.
Dude, yeah, Miss May I, Mirror After the Burial, Terror. Like, it was a gnarly show, dude. And I know 2 people had gotten carted off, like, by the medics during our set. And we're the opening band, and we're local. So we're like, bro, this show's about to be fucking nuts.
Oh,
Like,
man.
someone's going to die tonight. You know, like, they're going for blood, bro. And, shout out to Mike Martinez from the Meridian. That dude was awesome. He took really good care of us all the time. We would ask to get on shows where the tour manager's like, nah, there's no locals are playing or whatever. And he'd be like, yeah, but my boys are. And that was a wrap, you know? Like, that's what we were doing, dude. So he really looked out for us. But, man, I was 19 years old and the lead singer of a hardcore band doing that, at a fresh sound and everything, and we were blowing up really, really crazy. So I thought I was hot shit back then, man. Like, I really, really, I couldn't do no wrong in my eyes.
And then what changed from there? Like, was there like...
When you're 19, even though you can vote, which you probably shouldn't.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Look, if you're under the age of 30, don't fucking vote.
Mic drop.
Straight up. Yeah, we're done, right? Okay, but yeah, man. I thought I knew shit. A lot of what changed was I got humbled a lot, losing bands, losing friends, losing everything in my life because I chose to be immature and selfish and not listen to people. And then as you get older, you hopefully mature a little bit and start to grow and see the world a little differently and start appreciating things that you took for granted beforehand. And you slow down a lot, and if you're like me, you're still angry, and I haven't grown out of that, but my teenage angst had turned into adult disgruntledness, and I really started thinking about the things that were really important and what was worth not winning an argument or being selfish versus what is best for people I care for and the things I believe in. And when you do those things, I think that's when you really start to mature and change your perception on reality and your priorities as well. So
yeah, certainly. And I mean that was a lesson that I felt like I had to learn just along my...
I'm still learning, dude.
Oh yeah, there's never a point in our lives where we're not learning, but definitely like the whole thing about for me it was a learning curve, knowing that like there are some things that you just can't unsay. And like it really is like good in life to be able to hold your tongue, and especially too like even in a creative field, whether it be videography, whether it be music, like sometimes it doesn't even come down to like a skills issue. Sometimes it does come down to like, are you a person that understands himself enough and also has like the right attitude about who you are and like how to treat other people and stuff like that. That can take you so far.
And just like your intentions, like whatever you set out to do, like what your intentions are.
Definitely. Because I've seen way more talented cinematographers and stuff than me that just because of the way they approach certain social situations, like they just kind of like close doors for themselves without even really knowing it.
Right, man. And really, like, it's a coming to age type of thing and starting to understand those things about myself even. You know, I learned that it's not about the reward as much as it is the process. And I think you have to fall in love with the work. You know what I mean?
Oh, certainly.
And so, like, you know, if you want to be a cold-blooded killer, like, killers can't stop killing. Like, you know, so during times of inactiveness when you don't have something you're working toward actively, consciously, you know, you just gotta don't worry so much about the reward, because if your intent is true and your shots are true, then you know, the work is what's gonna do it. Dude, Ricky, our former bass player for this project, man, he told me something that really stuck with me, and I think about this statement every day, where it's, you know, hard work will beat talent if talent won't work hard.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it is. I feel like, especially in a creative field, as long as you are driven and motivated by it and laser focused on what you are trying to do, and you fall in love with the work, not the reward, and you bust your ass, like, give it everything, man. You know, you don't want to be 50 years old and being like, fuck, I wish I'd have just tried a little harder, man.
No,
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
And with the creative stuff, even though a lot of creativity is more of like a head thing, like, you know, creatives, we do have to have like a blue collar mentality when it comes to the work. Like there is value in like getting dirt on your hands and doing the hard work. And cause like if it's just talk all day about these ideas that I have and all these things I want to try, if you're never actually experimenting with these things and like really taxing yourself, like it's all just going to be like up here. It's just gonna be stuck up here.
Well, and like, and if you truly love your craft, whatever that is, I think you like can't help but to like kind of seek after this mastery for it. And so, like, I don't know. I think that's where like most like successful like creators or just, you know, artists, whatever, they like, it comes from this desire to want to just like this absolute love and just this desire to completely master this craft, whatever it be, you know, filmmaking, music, you know, videography, painting.
Right. Dude, and I think people got the game fucked up.
Like, they do got the game fucked up.
Because here's the deal, man. Like, you know, if you're going to go 5, 6 weeks, days, months, years without being able to produce something, because creativity, and a lot of times, especially like things that are really good, they feel almost divine. Mm-hmm. Like it's you just feel like a conduit, because your brain and your body are working faster than you can process what you're doing. So like it's happening very fast, but you don't always have control of that. You know, like there'll be months where I don't hear a single idea in my head for a song, and then all of a sudden I can get 6 done in a night.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like a possession of sorts.
No, and I think definitely, like, I think that like that like little spark of creativity, whatever it is, that's like a opportunity, and you gotta like jump on it. And so it's like as soon as you have a good, like, yeah, for a song, whatever, you don't gotta like finish it right there, but like put some work in and like really try to figure this out, strike while the iron's hot. Because like I think that's when, because I'll have a little riff, or like I'll have a little idea that I'll think about, and I'm like, oh, that's cool, but like maybe I'll work on that tomorrow. I'm not doing anything tomorrow. Maybe I'll work on it then. But it's just never has the same kind of.
Dude.
It's just not fresh.
Another thing too is, you know, don't wait too much on inspiration. There are times where you're not going to be getting like all these, you know, flow of ideas, but you can still be working on the craft. You can still.
That's what the other jobs are for. So getting your social media, designing merch, booking shows, networking with people, like trying to find your community for what you're doing that is niche. Like that's what those other times are for. But you know, you get that creative burn and that inspiration, like that. For me, it happens in the most like not good ways. Like I call him a bitch about this nonstop, where I'm like, bro, it's 3 a.m. I just got off of work and I'm driving the fuck home, and all of a sudden it starts pounding in my head like that fucking Jumanji game, right? And there's times where I literally have to pull over Like, and there's times where I'm up here where just like I'll be behind the bar like working or whatever, you know, and doing my thing and like talking to my coworkers, and I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom right now. And it's not because I need the bathroom, it's because I'm gonna go record me humming a riff or some notes on my phone. I have probably like 400 different recordings of me just doing weird shit like that.
No, all you know, you're a real one if you got like just weird recordings on your phone and like cryptic like notes.
Have to do it.
No, you
like,
gotta do it. You gotta do it.
Do you want to lose it?
Nah, for real.
Because my best work has come from me being like,
oh yeah,
motherfucker, like I can't do this right now. Why, brain? Why?
Nah, yeah. No, I think.
But capture it, man.
No, I think you definitely got to capture it. You definitely got to capture it.
Well, and also, like, you know, be spending time sharpening your ability to translate whatever the idea in your head is onto whatever your canvas is. So, like, at any given time, like, there could be someone who's never picked up a guitar before, and they can have a great idea for a song to play.
That's me.
But like, if you haven't spent that time under tension learning the instrument, it's going to be harder for you to translate that idea. It can be the same idea that, you know, somebody else has, but it's your ability to like translate it in that moment with no I guess buffer in the yeah, you get my point.
And anybody can do it. Fucking anybody can do it.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's just how bad do you want it? Because like me personally, I just started playing guitar for this band, and the only reason I started was because I had no way to communicate that to a guitar player what I'm hearing. And what I'd come to find out is I probably should be in a mental patient like house or something, because I'm a left-handed guitar player who is using a 7-string setup on a 6-string, and I'm got a low A, and then I'm an E standard there forward. And I only understood about half of what I said, but I know how to describe my shit, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm in some weird shit, and to match what I'm doing, he is tuned in traditional drop A with a 7-string setup on a 6-string as well, leaving the high notes out. And then our bassist is typically going to be an E standard, and not a one of us are in the same tuning, but it's the best way I was able to. I when I first started hearing riffs for the new project, you know, like I didn't have a way to transcribe that to someone else that knew what the hell what they were doing and what they were up to. So I borrowed a pickup-less bullshit little guitar and sat there with a busted ass like maybe $70 guitar with those weird strings on it, tuned to the best of my ability from what I could find on YouTube. And it was right-handed, yeah. So I'm strung upside down as it is, right?
Question: you guys' bassist, he's with Ganesha,
correct? Yeah.
Okay, cool, yeah.
And unfortunately, we just parted ways.
Okay.
But there's it's not anything negative whatsoever, you know.
Yeah,
like
no, sometimes it just.
That's our boy. Well,
yeah.
he really just got that rocking and rolling. You know. He got his dream lineup back and started getting that creative bone for his project and things like that. And,
yeah.
You know, he's been committed to that project for like 15 years.
Cool.
You know, who the fuck am I to tell you not to do it? So
No,
he
yeah,
has
yeah.
100% of our support, and that's our boy. And, you know, like we're even still sharing jam spaces, and we're going to play shows together. Like it's a beautiful thing, really.
Hell yeah.
You know,
okay, so
I wish I was that lucky every time a member switched out, you know what I mean?
So one thing I want to, so when you guys had played Houston Vert Ramp, I don't know if you remember this, but for whatever reason, did we hug after you guys' set?
Who?
Me and you, when you walked off.
I just work here, dude.
Hey, look, I remember, so we were recording it, and I was like, hey, great set, and then like, it might have been you, it might have been one of the other band members, but there was somebody that I ended up accidentally hugging, and then I thought about it. I was like, man, this scene, the Houston scene, it's the way it works is like there's so much like people just be hugging in the Houston punk scene.
It's all love, dude.
It's very much love in the scene, man.
It's dirty, it's gross, and I love this city. I've got my bones to pick, but I've traveled the country multiple times in my life already, and there's no place like home, and it's my dirty little ghetto by the sea, and I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
So you say bones to pick. What's the?
You want to do the dirt? All right.
Yeah, man.
I need tea. Where's the tea?
That's the art of,
Yeah.
art of podcasting right there.
No, man. So look, compared to all the major cities, we have no zoning law. Thus, businesses, warehouses, churches, strip clubs, residential, it's all just scrambled together, right? That creates its own set of issues in certain lights. Also, as far as being in the top 10 largest cities in the country, we are geographically the largest by square mileage, far and away. You know, like we are big. Houston is an hour away from Houston. Anybody who's ever even visited knows that.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, there is significantly a small amount of underground venues that are supporting underground music, period. You know, and I mean, we still got at least a dozen that come to mind right off the top of my head, right? But a dozen out of roughly 4.5 million people, like that's not good. Also, they're all 30 minutes away from each other, which is another issue because underground music, from my experience, typically is going to draw a younger demographic, particularly in the punk rock, heavy metal, hard rock, whatever, you know, even hip hop and things like that. It's going to draw a younger demographic typically because the kids are always going to know what's going on in the underground far and away before someone over the age of 30 probably will, even with social media. It's a thing. And I don't know why, and I might be wrong, but that's just what I've seen from years of going to tons of shows. That being said, though, it's already a small scene that's very splintered, and people, if there's a lot of people that would rather be the main guy that is handling things and controlling things more than there is a amount of support. So that's one of my biggest things, because I've gone to larger cities. I've gone to New York, Chicago, and LA, and been to underground shows in those places, and the support from the scene itself and all that is not quite as splintered or cutthroat. Now, I don't know if that's because of geographical mileage, you know, being a thing, or if their scene's just different. I haven't spent enough time there to speak on how they operate. But that's one thing that I've noticed here is that you have a lot of clashing dates on very niche underground genres through niche underground clubs. And I think if people work together a little more to try to do that, then you would truly see things like Embassy does on the regular.
Are there any venues that you guys gravitate more towards that you guys have generally enjoyed the vibe of?
Nah. Not really, like not like in a bad thing. I mean, we have a good time at every venue. I've yet to play a venue where I was like, we're never doing this again. It's never happened, and hopefully it doesn't. But you know, it's one of those deals where I think like I've had better experiences at some other ones, and I think a lot of it has to do with maybe equipment. You know, like if I can't hear myself playing on stage, like if I don't have proper sound monitors, you know, I'm going to have a good time. I'm going to do my thing, but I'm not going to feel like that was my best show. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's really, really integral that you be able to hear yourself. You know?
Right. Yeah.
It helps a lot. There's been other shows where I'm like, no way is this going to go good sound-wise, and it be like some of the best shit we've ever done because the sound guy just was involved and like was paying attention and making corrections on the spot. You know what I mean? There's other spots where that's not really the case, you know? And I mean, it doesn't mean it's a bad venue or a bad anything, you know, even a bad sound guy. It's just, you know, like my advice, you don't have the best gear, make sure your sound guy gives a shit about his job and what he's doing and trying to make those bands sound the best they can, even if he's having to focus the entire time. And there's been plenty of places that I've played that will have subpar, you know, equipment, and that's fine, you know, but their sound guy gives a fuck. So, you know, he's actively doing what he can to make you sound the best you can, even if he's never heard of you before. Yeah. And that's super important.
Yeah, one of the best shows we played recently.
Sorry. We're going to have to edit that one out.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, one of the best shows we played recently, our amps weren't even mic'd, and it was probably the best
Oh,
we've sounded
dang,
in a long
yeah.
time. And I had no expectations. I was like, great, we're not going to be mic'd. This isn't going to be a good show, but the sound guy was on it, and it sounded phenomenal.
And that's honestly something that I feel like I don't know if we've talked about it explicitly on the podcast before, but like really no matter what your role is, no matter where you're at, like no matter what role you're performing, you really have an opportunity to just completely change the experience for everyone around you. Because when somebody walks into a rock venue, they're thinking, okay, well, the rock band, they are the people who are primarily in charge of how this experience is about to go. If they're good, then it's going to be a good experience. If they're bad, it's going to be a bad experience. But that's not the truth. Everyone from the sound guy to the door guy to like every single person involved is going to
top down from organization.
Top down, and so like no matter what you're doing or what like where you're at, like you definitely have an opportunity there to just completely transform the experience for everyone. From the audience to the band that's actually performing. Mm-hmm. But
and like from a band standpoint, it's like I don't know, you're kind of giving the short end of the stick because like you're up there and like say the sound guy like kind of messes around.
For sure, you got to take the heat of whatever happens
because they don't say they must have an off night, it must be the sound guy's fault. They're just like, oh, this band sucks, I'm done with them.
For sure.
A lot of people don't think about those things, particularly like people that aren't actively playing shows or haven't before, and it's not their fault. Like it's, that's not everybody's world, They're there they're there to rock out and have a good time. And so it really sucks when those things happen, but it's always good to have a venue that has compassionate staff.
Right.
And that care about what they're doing.
And like, for the most part, from what I've seen, like this scene is all about like just everybody very understanding of each other and just trying to like help each other out. Nobody's trying to screw over like anybody. They're just like trying to do a good job, trying to help somebody out, trying to put somebody else in the best position. And it's I mean, it's like, I don't know, it's inspiring. It's nice to like feel like you kind of have like wherever you go, you got somewhere to kind of somebody's got your back.
You have a community,
Yeah.
And that community's gonna back your play even if they have no idea who you are.
And it's
I think one of the things I'd like to see the most is like I would like to see more networking type events happen where like even getting a bunch of the promoters together, just to have a couple of drinks or something, It's just like, bro, let's really, because we have something special here, And I mean, it's always been this way, but we could really take things to a level that has never been seen.
How have you kind of, just like in your time with like the Houston scene and everything, how have you kind of seen it like progress? Like what changes have you seen throughout, like, I mean, just your time?
I haven't seen a lot of changing, bro.
Really?
No, but it's a good thing.
Yeah, no. I mean, so what do you mean by that? It's kind of like.
So I'm kind of biased, right?
Okay, yeah.
I spent a lot of my adolescence in a suburb of Houston. We were in a place called Baytown, Texas, and we had, like maybe 20% of the population is under the age of 20 years old, and there's nothing to do, man. Like, we had no skate parks. Things are different now, but back then, like when I was a teenager, we didn't have a whole lot. So I mean, a lot of loitering went down. You have a lot of drug issues over that, a lot of criminal shit that happens just because you can't have young people that are becoming adults not have a way to reallocate that energy, because it's so raw, and hormones are a motherfucker. But you got
and idle hands are the devil's plaything.
Yeah, man. But I mean, you're a kid, you don't know shit,
No, yeah,
and you got
trying
a
to do
ton of energy, right? Like I was bulletproof when I was a teenager, man, and a lot of my friends were. But we had one little bitty venue, man, and that venue, I got to see some artists that really I didn't know it then, but shaped the rest of my life, I remember being 13, 14 years old and seeing bands like The Last Starfighter and the Jean Monnet and Maylene and the Sons of Disaster and guys like that playing some little bitty, like, hole-in-the-wall spot, man. And
you know, looking at those guys do it, you know, it's like, dude, I can do this. Like, if they can do it, I can do it. I might not be as good as that, but I mean, shit, they are human beings. This inspired me. You know?
Everyone starts somewhere,
right?
You know, and it's cool to have local acts and stuff that you can kind of look up to or like emulate when you're starting.
Now, coming to Houston, like proper, you know, like being in downtown and things like that, you know, you have a ton of like underground clubs that have been there forever, and unfortunately a lot of them have shut down, you know, like Mango's, Fitzgerald's, the Meridian, like none of them are around anymore, you know, like I think the Swan might be the only one left from like that old world style of doing shit, right? And props to those guys. But you know, as far as seeing the scene change, like it hasn't. Like there's still a ton of great talent out there that's underground as fuck, you know, keeping it local. You have a lot of underground venues that are supporting these things and giving it a spot to do it, and people are still showing up. The youth is still showing up, and they're still absolutely terrorizing society while they're there doing it in the best way imaginable, man. And that's never changed, and it's not going to, and it never fucking will, I hope, you know?
Yeah. Well, hell yeah. Well, thank you. Appreciate it. Well, hell yeah. So do you guys have any shows upcoming that you guys want to promote or shout out or anything like that?
No, we don't have anything in the books. You know, we're going through a lineup change right now, and we got everything taken care of. Just, it's going to take a little bit of time. Ricky's not an easy guy to replace, and you know, we are going to do our thing, but in the meantime, you know, while we're getting our buddy up to speed and getting him caught up, getting him show ready, this whole next year is about to be pedal to the metal, even with, you know, the setback we've got, but it's all good. So we've got a 5-track demo that is literally a week away from being finished. Gonna start dropping singles here and there, and lyric videos, as well as, like, you know, actual music videos of sorts. We have an entire album worth of material recorded, ready to rock. We just got to get into the editing and mixing on that, post it, and hopefully we got that thing out by, like, I'm aiming for the 3rd week of September. That's when all my favorite albums have come out. I don't know why, but they have, and I'm just going to trust that they know what they're doing, because they've been extremely influential to me, and that's what I'm going to push for, even though it probably is going to be ready far before that. But touring's on the radar big time, and just upping our game constantly, man. And,
continual improvement.
Yeah, just be on the lookout for us. Hopefully you guys like what we're doing. It's certainly its own breed, and come out and support a show. Follow us on all the social media stuff. You know, particularly Instagram. I think that's where we're most active. But yeah, keep supporting live music, even if it ain't us. We don't give a shit.
Yeah, word, bro.
It's called Nothing Who Cares. Like, it is what it is, my man.
Guys, check it out. Nothing Who Cares. Guys, any like final words for the beautiful viewers out there?
No, man. If you think you want to create music or anything creatively whatsoever, do it authentically. Make sure it means a lot to you. And it's going to bring you therapy and comfort and healing, hopefully, because creativeness is medicine for the soul. And, you know, don't vote before you're 30.
Word. Co-signing that.
Blame the sound guy.
Yeah, don't. Well, fuck it, yeah. Blame the sound guy. Yeah, that motherfucker. But he knows who he is.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, keep doing those things. Keep supporting creative outlets. If you think you want to do it, just make sure your heart's in it and give it 110% of what you got. Nothing less is going to give you the results that you'd crave. And even if you don't get where you want, fall in love with the work, not the reward. And yeah, keep supporting your friends, and look out for your family, and be grateful for what you got.
Word. Guys, this has been the GBM podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in this far.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Jake.
Yeah, check out Nothing Who Cares. And if you guys need video, hit us up. And yeah, signing out.
Deuces. Thank you.
All right. That's a wrap.
Sweet. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Now it's time for shots, right?
Thank you, man.
Yeah, sure, bro.
I gotta run to the bathroom.
Oh, I gotta piss too, man. I'm gonna like you.
This is